Journalism is under attack like never before.
No, husband's being tear gas fired.
You have to have the facts.
Beautiful but tragic.
Because people are doubting everything.
You're the only way of telling their story.
How would you describe this outbreak?
Something like an apocalypse.
You're going to be really tired. You're going to be really scared.
It's too dangerous here.
Anyone who says they're not scared is lying. Anything can happen.
Did you get hit? I sometimes wonder, how have we managed to get out of this?
People being killed.
We do genuinely believe in what we do.
He's clearly marked as press.
To show the truth.
Wow, this is absolutely unbelievable.
To uncover an injustice.
This is the result of ethnic cleansing.
I don't think any journalist wants anything more than that. I'm Alex Crawford.
I'm Stuart Ramsay.
And this is Hotspots.
Coming up on Hotspots,
We're in paradise.
we're in Namibia, where plans to drill for oil are threatening some of the world's most precious and endangered wildlife.
We don't know what the effect of that oil and our environment. We are afraid for that.
And over a decade since an earthquake ravaged Haiti, we revisit to find a country on a knife edge.
The atmosphere was really tense.
There's a bullet being fired. They're trying to clear the street.
It was a sort of David and Goliath battle, a nature v human battle. They basically got an oil drill in their backyard.
He feels that you've camped illegally on his land.
What's he going to do? He's nobody.
Every environmentalist we spoke to was horrified about doing any oil exploration.
There are hundreds of thousands of elephants that depend on this river.
Because there just aren't that many places left in the world like that. Namibia is a land of extremes. You are blown away by this mixture of climates and environments and landscapes. It's like a film set. It not only had the biggest sand dunes in the world, it's got a coast right along the Atlantic that's called the Skeleton Coast, because they're still finding the bones of animals and humans and pirates and travelers still washing up there. I mean, it's a land of mystery, environmental wonders, absolutely jaw-droppingly gorgeous. I thought there was an astonishing story there, which seemed to encapsulate everything that a journalist might want in a story. It was a sort of David and Goliath battle, a nature v human battle. Recon Africa, also known as Reconnaissance Africa, are a Canadian oil company which believed that the Kavanga Basin and the Kavanga River was sitting on this huge undiscovered oil field. Downstream of that, several hundred miles, one of the globe's most drop-dead gorgeous wildlife environmental sites, the Okavanga Delta, which is home to hundreds of different species of birds, fauna, flora, wildlife. Every environmentalist we spoke to was horrified about the idea of doing any oil exploration within a few hundred miles of one of the world's natural treasures.
It was my first story. It was my first story with Sky. It was my first story with Kevin and Alex. And, you know, you want to make a good impression.
We'd got a new member of the team in the middle of this pandemic, so we hadn't even been able to meet as a team.
That's it. We knew Chris was experienced, but we weren't sure if you know, if he would necessarily get us or how he would operate.
The excitement was building. We were going to go. I went and did my PCR test, and it came back positive 2 days before we were meant to go and be meeting for the first time and doing their first story together. So that was a massive anticlimax.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know. And all of a sudden you think, oh God, like, what do we do? Where do we go? What happens now?
Kev and Chris had both already arrived in Namibia and they were just waiting for me to turn up.
Phew. It's a good start, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not the best start in the world, but there we go. In the days while we were waiting for Alex to arrive,
We decided to head to Swakopmund, the coast.
we were looking at all sorts of stories and taking opportunities to film, potentially, for those stories in the future.
Not sure we should be this close. It doesn't feel right.
All the time, I was getting pictures sent back to me from Kevin and Chris saying, oh, look where we are, oh, look what we're doing.
Not much to see here at all, really.
Hardly anything or anybody.
Yeah, no, they were very sympathetic. I was really jealous. What, are you kidding? I had to sit and watch them for a good week.
It was a horrible situation without the boss. Arriving at the airport, here she comes. It's one of those moments, It's not, there's no two ways about it. You're going to feel the pressure.
Chris was coming into a new company, a whole new set of people.
How's it going?
The first job as producer of Believe It to carry on my bags.
Oh, immediately.
I thought it's worth a try. He took it quite well, actually.
As we packed up, I said, that's it. Holiday's over.
Yeah, the holiday is over.
When you're opening a book on how to pick a new teammate and get on, the very first thing, on the first page, I bet you won't find, do a 7-hour-long car journey when no one can get away.
How long have we got to go, Chris?
5.5, I think. 5.5 hours.
Well, so we've done 2 hours.
Yeah.
Another 5 to
We
go.
had a lovely drive to get to know each other and get to know Alex's terrible taste in music.
I can't help liking the best balladeer of all time. Apologies for that.
We headed, first of all, to what we felt was the crux of the story, which was the mouth of the Okavango Delta. We had a long-standing contact with an environmentalist and a lodge owner, Yoffi, who was operating in that area.
So how are you, Yoffi?
Wonderful thing. We're in paradise here.
You soak up his enthusiasm and his love of nature.
This is what we call another tough day in Africa.
Yeah, that's just what I was thinking.
And he's opening our eyes to things that you don't normally see.
In the river is a hippo close post. We should see some wildlife here on this island up ahead. Lots of lechwe.
Hippos raising themselves out of the water, going up and seeing this huge crocodile, which seemed to just wait for us to get up there and then slowly slide in.
You probably go about 7 foot. You'll hurt any one of us, probably kill any one of us on the boat.
Yoffi didn't let any moment go unused to remind me about the link between something that was happening, several hundred miles away and the impact it could have downstream.
Thousands of elephants, hundreds of thousands of elephants that depend on this river to survive.
His point was, this will all change if we have oil found.
They're saying this is a bigger oil field than Saudi Arabia. Is it not perhaps you have to look at the bigger picture and how that would massively transform Africa?
It comes back down to the bare basics of how nature will be affected. What's the environmental impact going to be? What's going to be the detrimental impacts to free-flowing water, underground water, wildlife, animals killed on roads? And then there'll also obviously be a huge influx of people coming in from all over the world to, extract these things.
Namibia and Botswana are sort of home to the largest remaining herd of savanna elephants.
It's 5:30 in the morning, and we're going on a game drive. Try and see some elephants.
One of these in the morning.
Is that a takeaway cup?
It is. I hope they don't catch me.
Inside this park is a place of particular sanctuary and refuge for these elephant herds.
The elephant cows and calves like coming down to this area here because it's nice and open. They're buffalo down there too.
There's a little bit of anxiety in the group because we have got a sort of time scale. So we need the elephants to come out on this day, at this time.
You heard those elephants just in here.
Yeah.
Is it the best time of day to try and get elephants?
No, but it hasn't been particularly hot today, so that if they don't have to walk a long way to water, they won't.
First couple of times we went out, we saw incredible sights, but no elephants. And this was meant to be one of the key parts of the story, this migratory route of the savannah elephant. And we couldn't find any of the goddamn things.
So we're on our way to the watering hole, which is where we're hoping to see a load of elephants. This is the time of the day that they all go and have a drink.
We were being taken to all the obvious places. They were just eluding us. We were seeing signs that they'd been there, or fresh droppings.
The poop.
Elephant poo, my favourite subject.
There's 56% of whatever you eat comes out undigested. It's a waste, right?
Right.
No, everything else eats this.
Sorry, no.
Yeah,
I can tell you, I've become the world expert in elephant poo.
And those elephants eat mageti nuts and they transport them 100 kilometers and come deposit them here. So that just shows the vast distances that these animals move, because this whole area here is open. They can go wherever they want.
And he used it to illustrate just how dependent these elephants are on these migration routes. And if this huge billion-dollar oil project was going to cut right across this migration route, and it was going to impact on this largest surviving herd of Africa's savanna elephants. And then we finally came across a whole load of them.
That little feeling you have of, whoa, this is pretty special.
These incredible creatures are very sensitive to sound, to movement. And the worry is that they will be frightened away.
I felt a real sense of wonderment. There's this huge area with beautiful wild creatures, and the idea that it could all be spoiled because of a drive for money and a drive for business just seems in many ways really crazy, because there just aren't that many places left in the world like that.
Well, it's still pretty dark out there.
We woke before dawn and were planning to head out early.
We had to go and see what was happening at the oil exploratory area, an area called the Kavango Basin. Underneath the Kavango Basin, this oil and gas company believed that there was one of the world's biggest undiscovered oil fields.
It was a few hours' drive to get to this really remote area. But heading there, it's just so lush and green. And then you get to this village and immediately you can see the impact that this team is having there. You know, it was just this industrial blot on what was basically untouched, you know, nature.
The north of Namibia is the poorest area in the country, really.
Poverty strips you, I think, of any power. It makes you extremely vulnerable.
We went into the communities around the drill site, you know, to meet locals, those that were most directly affected.
Andreas was the sort of patriarchal figure of a very small, extended family.
They've basically got an oil drill in their backyard. You can literally hear them drilling from here.
He is a subsistence farmer with a small plot of land. He's got a few crops. He's got a bit of, you know, he's got a bit of land for his animals to graze on. And that's it. That's how he lives. That's how he survives.
And this is your maize? This is your maize? So was that your land? And suddenly this big foreign company had set up shop in his back garden, basically, and transformed it into this big oil exploration site. Andreas wanted to show us just how close the oil exploration site was.
All this one is his land.
All of this is his land, he's saying. This is quite something to have in your back garden.
It just, you know, he's talking about rubbing his face in it. You know, this thing he's just got to look at every single day on his land.
Are you saying you feel like you've been robbed?
He knew very little about what was going on. Just that his version was that one day they weren't there, one day they came. And what's he going to do? He's nobody.
And when we got to the edge of it, he was just showing how close it was to us. And we could see people there. And I think almost certainly they could see us. We didn't believe that we were trespassing because we were on what Andreas believed was his land. And then these oil, I presume they were some sort of managerial people, came out towards us. They were perfectly polite.
I just came to ask if you would back up beyond the berm. You're actually within the parameters of our location.
Can you tell us how close you are to finding oil?
I'll tell you what, I can take your phone number and I can get your information to the right people where they can answer your questions.
Okay.
I don't have the answer to that.
Do you feel hopeful, or what is your feeling about how successful you're likely to be in finding oil?
I can take your information and get it to the right.
Oh, come on, just throw me a bone here.
We're not drilling for oil, we're drilling for information.
This is Andreas.
Hi, Andreas.
He actually lives on this land, and he feels that you've camped illegally on his land.
I'll get your information to the right person.
But
thank you.
would you like to say anything to him?
End of conversation. We followed up afterwards and Chris got in touch with the company. They gave a very full statement saying that they were taking lots of environmental precautions, that nothing had been discovered yet, that the future was in the hands of the Namibian people and the Namibian government, that they were very environmentally conscious. Andreas was just one person. There were many hundreds, around the site who felt equally worried and didn't know what their futures were going to hold.
What are your worries, though?
We don't know what the effect of that oil and our environment. We are afraid for that.
When you're sitting in a hut where you can see what they're going to eat that night and it's a pile of leaves, and they're talking about, feeling utterly powerless. They feel like they're not being heard. It's really difficult not to feel some sort of empathy with them.
How much consultation has there been about it all?
Now, they didn't tell us that what will the effect will be, whether it will be destroying environment or not. They did not explain that for us.
One of the things that Recon Africa had done to try and win over the population in an area which is so water scarce was to drill a borehole quite close so that they didn't have to do this huge long trek to get water.
And they were grateful for those, but the general sense was that these foreigners had come, had offered help, talked a tiny bit about what they were doing, but then nothing. They had no information on what was going on. They didn't know what impact the exploration was going to have.
For an outsider's point of view, it slightly smacks of giving them a little bit of help, which they desperately need. And on the other hand, still pressing ahead with this huge multi-million-dollar project.
So he's not known as a chief, he's head man.
Yeah. We got a completely different perspective when we went to see one of the tribal leaders.
Is that him?
I got the impression straight away through body language and his demeanour. He thought we were foreign interlopers who were basically coming to preach to him.
What's happening? He's finding some place for us to come and talk.
Yeah. He didn't seem best pleased to talk to us, but he did invite us in and sit us down.
His retort to our questions was very much on the lines of, well, it's all right for you, because you are rich and educated and privileged, and you've got careers and you've got jobs. Why are you trying to hold us back?
You feel people are trying to stop you from getting better, getting richer?
He definitely made us think in a different way. Their lives were mired in poverty. Their kids were not being schooled. They were scrapping around for food every day. So to him, the oil exploration represented something very, very different. A better future, you know, a future where they could be educated and they could eat properly.
It just comes down to how much you believe or want to believe in the idea that this wealth that is potentially going to be found is going to actually trickle down to the people living on the ground.
At the moment, they have very little anyway, so you can imagine if anything goes wrong, it's just going to be chaos for them. You know, if the soil's polluted, that's it. You know, they can't live off the land because that's just ruined.
The very nature of environmental stories, you're trying to illustrate something which hasn't yet happened. So you can't film destruction and devastation which the locals are worried about because it hasn't happened.
This is the interview, isn't it?
Yeah.
You somehow have to capture the imagination of as many people as possible, people who wouldn't necessarily want to watch an environmental report, or people who have absolutely zero interest in oil exploration.
The impact here will be significant.
We're aware that not everyone is interested in the environment outside of their own small environment. So whenever you do these stories, it's obviously, we hope it's going to be impactful.
Recon Africa's oil exploration licenses cover thousands of square kilometres in...
I think it was my daughter who said, "Oh my God, Mum, Leo has tweeted about your story." And it was like, Leo? Who's Leo? And it's like, Leonardo DiCaprio has noticed your story, has tweeted it, and of course he has got millions and millions of followers.
When quite a big celebrity notices the story we've just done, yeah, that's quite something. And I know Alex was as giddy as a little schoolgirl.
Maybe he'll make a film about it. We did try and get him to be interviewed, but he was busy. Even if you've got these ranks of people and celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio all lined up saying, "There's going to be a disaster, please stop, don't do that, don't ruin it." It's very hard to get action before something has actually happened.
Recon haven't yet managed to prove that there is oil in the Kavango Basin, especially not on the scale that they are projecting. The big question is there oil? If the answer to that question is yes, and you've got all these difficult decisions to be made as, do you exploit it? How do you exploit it? Once you are exploiting it, you're open to accidents, sabotage, disasters, just general pollution.
Are we going to be doing stories about how Namibia's been transformed by this oil discovery and got riches beyond their wildest dreams, and everyone now in Namibia is educated and got a great house to live in? That's another way the story could go. There's no telling right at the moment. Well, I really hope we're not going to be doing a story about how devastated the Okavango Delta is in 10 years' time. That would be horrific.
Up next. It had been a period of chaos on the streets, extreme violence on the streets. And we went with some trepidation.
We're back at it. This is what we do.
It was a massive worldwide story when the earthquake hit.
The world is coming to an end!
After 10 years, and it looks just the same. Incredible.
The mass protest was really a call to action.
There's a bullet being fired. This has been going on now for hours.
Everybody knew about Haiti the day after the earthquake. Everybody has forgotten about Haiti now.
We had actually been travelling to Guatemala on a series of stories that we'd been working on for a while when it became clear that Haiti was a story that perhaps we should have a look at.
We started looking at it with increased interest over a number of days.
So you might be going to Haiti then?
Yeah. just trying to find someone who might be able to work with us. We sort of saw the Haiti story, but it seems to have turned quite quickly, so... You covered the earthquake?
Yeah.
Anyway, send out a good old-fashioned email to someone and see if it comes back. There was this date coming up, the 7th of February, which was the date the opposition was saying that the president needed to step down. And there'd been a lot of protest build-up leading up to that date.
We didn't know really what to expect, but we did know that it had been a period of a fair amount of chaos on the streets. Extreme violence on the streets. And we went, I think with some trepidation, but thinking, well, we could actually see a coup take place.
It was over a decade since I've been back in Haiti, and that was an enormous earthquake. This whole place, I mean, the airport hasn't changed much. It'll be interesting to see what it's like in Port-au-Prince.
I think even within the first few minutes of us leaving the airport, we realized how dangerous, tense, and changing the situation was. Our driver, Etienne, was looking at his map router all the time on his app.
There's trouble ahead.
He would see where roads were suddenly being closed by gangs taking over areas.
So listen, we've got a political crisis. Is the president going to leave, or is he going to continue? What do you think?
I don't know, but on the street, the people need him to go, right? They don't have hospital, they don't have work. It's not safe. All countries are kidnapping. Is that good?
We passed by youth standing around, trying to blockade areas of the city.
Armed gangs around, apparently, and a lot of people on the street. We're just trying to get out of this particular area and get to the hotel. It's just a bit chaotic already. So that was quite an interesting trip from the airport. Past burning barricades, closed off roads and police on high alert. We've literally been in Haiti about 20 minutes. We're back at it. This is what we do.
Port-au-Prince is possibly one of the most impoverished, dirty, foul, dangerous places that I've ever been to. It's not been helped by the fact that the earthquake caused so much damage to its infrastructure, an infrastructure that hasn't actually been replaced, as far as I can tell, virtually anywhere. We spoke to Brunelli, who's our producer in Haiti.
What's interesting is being here after 10 years and it looks just the same as the earthquake.
It's like we press pause and nothing. If anything, it's probably worse.
Yeah.
Usually town centers of a capital are probably the nicest part of a country, and this was just absolutely trashed. And Brunelli, as we would drive, would point out, say, right, that area is controlled by that gang, that area is controlled by that rival gang.
There might be barricades and roadblocks because there's a series of gangs along the way that might block the access.
Everyone's just used to such over-violence and so much dog eats dog that everywhere you go, you have that sense of everyone needs something. And if they see an opportunity to take it off anybody who's weak, they will do. In a collapsing economy, with gangs running pretty much all the streets, with a government accused and widely accepted to be corrupt, with no infrastructure rebuilding, the biggest growing business is kidnapping. You would expect it to affect the rich, but they also kidnap poor people and ask for very small amounts of money in relative terms, but actually they will kill those people if the ransom isn't paid. It's becoming such a big business that anyone literally out on the street is in danger all the time. And so the communities have decided to protect themselves. And so streets will be closed off, and they will do it with anything.
We came across these barricades at almost every point of interest in the city.
The protests have been against the president, Jovenel Moïse, who is known as Jovenel by everyone.
Jovenel Moïse remet la population li pral ba sécurité. L'ouest c'est gang qui occupait tout quartier défavorisé. Nous dit Jovenel Moïse, remettre démission parce que mandat fini. Nous dit c'est assez. Ça qui est passé l'enfer là, il va passer longtemps.
The problem is there is no work for anyone, so it's just a sort of a survival economy. And that is why the abduction of people has become such big business. It's the biggest growth business in Haiti today.
Mais on arrière, et puis, the world is coming to an end. Appelle mommy.
It was a massive worldwide story when the earthquake hit. It took forever to get in because for a moment the airport was open and then the United States took control of the relief operation and it was closed. The Sky teams came in by road across from Dominican Republic.
What did the aftershocks do?
And the aftershocks are big, and our hotel was already damaged and rocking a bit. So when the aftershocks hit, everyone would just go out into the garden and try to sleep there. The reason why it's so destructive is because it was so near the surface. But also the infrastructure here is never going to be built well enough, so everything just tumbled down.
I remember bodies on the street that stayed there for days and days and days while we were working.
Don't underestimate the desperation here. This distribution of tiny amounts of rice descends into chaos almost immediately. They aren't starving, they just don't know if there's any more to come. Out here, nobody's told them anything.
We didn't have a deployment anywhere near as big as most of our opposition. In truth, it was down to 2 reporters.
The medical emergency crisis is going on, but look at this. Thousands upon thousands of people with nowhere to go. They're sleeping rough out here. This is a humanitarian crisis, and it's growing every day.
Within our trip, I wanted to leave Port-au-Prince. I wanted to go to a place called Léogâne, which I'd visited in the earthquake, and we were trying to see how it had changed.
This is Léogâne, or rather it was. 90% of the town collapsed in the earthquake. It beggars belief, but this all happened in just 7 seconds. Just 7.
Well, we've come to Léogâne, which was the epicenter of the earthquake. It was very shallow, so it was more like an explosion. And while I was reporting here, I came across a little girl who had had her hand amputated.
Sandina Pierre is 5. She's in agony. Her mother can't watch her little girl suffer anymore. A night ago, a trainee nurse amputated her hand without anesthetic. There were no doctors.
Stuart had been there during the earthquake and he was quite keen to see what it looked like now.
Anything that looking familiar to you?
No, unfortunately. So this is where everyone was brought and they were treated here. I think it was also one of the most sort of secure areas that they had.
Thousands are living rough in tented villages, in football grounds, pretty much anywhere. They're injured and they're grieving.
You've got to remember that this town was smashed. So anything that's still standing is quite remarkable, or anything that's been rebuilt. There's a big change on Port-au-Prince.
We drove to the beach, and this is the thing about Haiti, is it's just an extraordinarily beautiful coastline. It's a Caribbean country. It could be, with its pristine beaches, one of the, top tourist attractions in the world, but it's not because of all of its other issues.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Just being here really makes you feel like I want to be on a Caribbean holiday.
Go in and pull in our own lunch.
And I remember talking to this youngster who was a very nice guy.
So you were here in the earthquake. Did you lose family and friends?
Oui, mother, father, ça veut dire sister,
his mother, his
brother, ça veut dire
his sister.
Un paquet de monde.
And he just wanted to actually make the point that aid had come in, they'd been given temporary housing, and he was still living in that temporary housing.
Bon, les noirs blancs ont été venus après tout tremblement, nous-mêmes nous avons pensé que son bail sérieux que t'as pas régler.
None of the building that they'd been promised, and none of the development that had been promised, and none of the money that had been given had been used to change their lives.
I remember my own family donated money. Loads of people in Britain donated money and around the world. What happened to that money?
We are talking billions of dollars worth of aid into Haiti after this dreadful, enormous earthquake took place. And there's almost nothing to show for it.
Pour nous-mêmes, tremblement de terre toujours dans l'esprit nous, li dans tête nous, dans nous-mêmes. Ou mettre instance yo vini l'organisation étrangère, yo vini en qui pour aider nous c'est sous yo vini sous nous.
And he was very, very forthright in his anger. He was sort of a natural politician, but he was the only person who was really happy to speak to us because he just wanted to make the point that things need to change and that they want political change and they want civil change in the country. And there's nothing to indicate to us, as far as we can tell, that that is going to happen anytime soon.
I think it brought our story sort of around a bit full circle because we knew so many people were protesting, we knew so many people were frustrated, and this young man just so eloquently described why. Everybody knew about Haiti the day after the earthquake. Everybody has forgotten about Haiti now.
Right, well this has hardly changed since the earthquake, as far as I can tell. It was really chaotic when we were here, so coming past the cathedral, I remember it being distinctly, well, destroyed, but there were so many other things to look at, people suffering, and so, you concentrated more on people and hospitals and people living rough and trying to find water and food because there was nothing. And I remember that people getting angrier and angrier because there were huge amounts of supplies, huge numbers of doctors, everything you need in the airport, which is only down the road, and nobody got any of it for days and days and days. The conditions just deteriorated.
I think the cathedral represents a failure to address basic infrastructure rebuilding that needed to take place.
It sort of feels like a metaphor for everything. The country's demise, the disaster, the ruins, and all around it, shanty towns that didn't exist before. Incredible.
There's definitely a sense of something here, no? You can sort of feel it. It sort of tells a story.
Loss.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah, 250,000 people.
There were mass protests called for the 7th of February. This was the day the opposition said that President Moise, who was in power, needed to step down.
It's quite a complicated situation. He was voted in a contested election. So he didn't take over his presidency for a year while the contest continued. He says that that year needs to be added on to the end of his current term, which meant that you have the opposition party saying, well, you had your term and it's ended.
He has so many economic problems, it has high unemployment, and so the mass protest was really a call to action on their part to say, right, let's do something about this and put our government under pressure.
We thought it was going to be a huge rally.
Police are down there.
They would set fires in the middle of roads, anywhere that they felt that they could get some type of advantage. The police were really on it the whole day.
It looks like the police are putting in their water cannon and their men. This is around the original presidential palace, which collapsed in the earthquake. It's never been rebuilt. This is the area they don't allow the demonstrators to come down. So they're creating their sort of defensive position now. The crowds are trying to gather, but it's not working as the police keep breaking them up. There's quite a lot of tear gas being fired at various times.
Tear gas is really unpleasant, but a very good crowd controller. We had our gear with us, and the great thing about gas masks is that you can actually operate really quite well when tear gas is all around you.
The atmosphere was really tense. There were rocks and stones and glass being thrown everywhere.
One of the worst things about covering any type of riot is where you should be. You would think ostensibly being behind the police would be a good place to be. The other way of looking at it is being with the protesters. Bear in mind, the police are firing live rounds as well as tear gas.
Loads of bullets being fired. They're trying to clear the street, and it's working.
And then, of course, there's the middle, which is never a great place to be.
We're right behind you.
And so you can actually just find yourself absolutely stuck. And I've been in it many, many times.
This has been going on now for hours, setting fire to buildings, trying to gather in groups, and then the police come along, tear gas comes in.
In Port-au-Prince, certainly, it seemed like almost everywhere was a no-go zone.
The Phantom 509 is blamed for an awful lot of this, but there are other gangs as well. One particularly nasty group of gangs is called the G9.
They terrorize neighborhoods.
Monsieur prend un gros gang qui est le G9, puis voye tirer moun en dedans ici à Nakasake les Belé.
They are largely controlled by a guy called Barbecue. His name is Barbecue because of his nasty way of dealing with his opponents.
And this is an area that's been attacked before by government forces, right?
Yes, G9 attaqué lui au bout toute zone net.
It's because of this type of crime that people want the president to leave. What happens if he doesn't leave?
Les amis Haïti, les Haïti, retirer méchants ça en dans pays. Kidnapping tribo babo. Massacre la saline. Tribo babo, nous pas capable chaque jour petit bon Dieu mourir tribo babo.
Shit, here we go.
Dan had gone forward, and I think he actually filmed facing backwards. We didn't actually have our masks on at that point, so he was like choking at the same time. This young boy comes up and he's like been breathing in the fumes. And it was a great shot. It's the type of shot that every cameraman is wanting to take.
Did you get gas? No, we had a bit when it was coming down. You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Ultimately, my job is to be part of the filming process, but it's also the writing process. So what events we see, I have to edit down into a coherent story.
Billowing clouds of tear gas fill the streets in almost every district of the capital.
Especially if you go to countries like Haiti, where people have absolutely no idea what's going on there in the general outside world.
This was a day promising revolution against President Moise. But each day this country, already one of the poorest in the world, is sliding into absolute anarchy. Stuart Ramsay, Sky News, Haiti.
You don't do the reports if you don't think they'll have impact. I mean, that's what you spend your whole time working on, is to make sure that you make a point that people actually care about.
I'd like to say that I think that Haiti's future is looking up, but the truth is I really don't think it is. There are issues rooted in so much poverty, so much corruption, so much crime.
Its biggest problem right now are gangs, because they are taking over and the proper democratic processes are being overwhelmed by the prevalence of the gangs. And for ordinary people, that is really horrendous.
Next time on Hotspots,
We knew that there were communities that were struggling to eat.
we're in Guatemala, where the climate crisis is causing people to either flee or starve.
They have to make this terrible choice.
And my team witnessed the devastation left by terrorists after they launched a deadly assault in Mozambique.
It was very eerie. They were tied with their hands behind their back and their heads were cut off. Okay.
Until then, you can find us on Twitter at Alex Crawford Sky and at Ramsay Sky. See you next time.
Come as you are, as you were, as I want you to be, as a friend, as an old